Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor. Really grateful to have you here, and I'm really excited to bring this video to you today. It's going to be my first impressions on these 10 fragrances that I picked up in a major spring haul, and I'm going to put them on paper here when I'm sharing my experiences with you in this video. But without further ado, I'm going to get right ahead into this one right here, Dior Homme Sport 2021. I really enjoy the 2020. It's a really nice, versatile, powdery, woody, kind of fuzzy, nice, masculine, modern fragrance. So this one kind of takes that Dior Homme 2020 DNA and puts some nice citruses over the top, freshens it up a little bit, makes it a sporty-esque flanker, but it's not aquatic or 90s sporty in that sense. But yeah, it just has, I don't think there's any orange listed in the note breakdown of this fragrance on Fragrantica. I think it might be like grapefruit and lemon, but it definitely gives me like an orange type citrus flavor. But yeah, just a really nice, brighter, probably a little bit more versatile take on the Dior Homme 2020 DNA. Really impressed with this one. I think it's probably more suited for late summer than spring though. Really beautiful stuff, and honestly I would probably recommend picking this up over the regular Dior Homme 2020 because they're pretty similar. I can't speak on projection or longevity yet, but you do get this is 125 ml, and you can find this for around the same price as the 100 mLs of the Dior Homme 2020. So something to keep in mind. I think it's probably a little bit better of a bang for buck on that one. So the next one we have is Chanel Pour Monsieur Eau de Parfum. I believe I picked this fragrance up because Omar at School of Scents recommended this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on paper as well. And I haven't smelled the Eau de Toilette. This is my first time getting acquainted with this Pour Monsieur DNA, but I think this is amazing. I have to agree with Omar. This is really beautiful. It's kind of like a very citric barbershop style fragrance. Yeah, but this is right up my alley. It definitely has that classic shaving foam barbershop thing going on. I almost prefer this over Platinum Egoiste. Platinum Egoiste has that metallic sharpness, and this is a lot more well-rounded and creamy, and just more nuanced with the citric overlay on top of the shaving cream vibe, whereas like the Egoiste only has like the shaving cream in terms of depth. Another great hit on this haul right here, Chanel's Pour Monsieur Eau de Parfum. Incredible stuff. Again, not really too sure about projection and longevity on any of these, but this one so far I think is I'm really grateful to have gotten it into my collection. Okay, so the next one here is Nishane Hacivat. So this fragrance so far, I've worn it a few times, no full wearings out in public or anything, but I've worn it around the house, before bed. So I've given it a few chances, and unfortunately my experience with Hacivat so far is that it is just, I can't really smell it. I don't know, I must just be going nose blind because people say this is supposed to be a powerful fragrance. It's Extrait de Parfum concentration. Picked it up. It's kind of like a hyped fragrance, so I wouldn't say any one person influenced me to get it. You just see it around a lot. And I heard it was a little bit better suited for spring because it's got an oak moss, a strong oak moss note. So yeah, I mean, I can faintly smell like a green, unripe pineapple is sort of the major vibe this one gives me. But it's just very, it comes off to me as kind of bland. It strikes me a little bit almost like the bottle looks here. It has just this, it gives me like a Manila envelope vibe, like just something very paper-esque like this. It just feels, it has like a papery texture. Not in like a papyrus way, but just in a bland, tasteless kind of way. So it's just very linear, semi-pleasant citrus. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Hugo Reversed. Not so much in scent profile, but they're also kind of doing similar things. They're just a very linear, semi-faint, a little bit green citric. So that, like a pineapple Hugo Reversed instead of grapefruit is a little bit what I feel like I get going on here. Might have a chance to redeem itself if it ends up being a crowd pleaser and it, you know, people around me enjoy it. I could see wanting to wear this one then. But as something that I would wear for personal preference, I just don't think it's up there on my list right now. So lukewarm first impressions from Hacivat's, Nishane's Hacivat. First fragrance from their house. Let me know in the comment section down below if they're worth exploring a little bit more. So far it's been a little bit of a flop first impression. Moving on, the next one, Mancera Cedrat Boise Intense. So Aura Fragrance had a pretty good deal pop up for this one. I think they recently sold out, but they had a few of them in stock. As you can see, it's got the Intense up top, written on the label. Otherwise, it looks very similar to the regular Cedrat Boise magnetic cap. And we're gonna go ahead and put this one on paper. Again, I've worn this one. I've worn all these on skin. This one struck me as probably not worth the pay premium to get this over the regular Cedrat Boise. If you have the regular Cedrat Boise, this one might be redundant. There are some subtle differences though, and I feel like I vaguely prefer this one over the original. I think the original is better for high heat, whereas this one is good for like summer nights into that early part of September where it's still technically summer. Because there's a really nice sort of warm, rugged, dry, or like the leather is more pronounced in this. It's a little bit sweeter and more well-rounded. The musks aren't as sharp in this as they are in the original. The sweetness in here also isn't, there's something more to it than just the vanilla, because the regular Cedrat Boise has that creamy vanilla sweetness going on. But this one, it's almost like more of a warm, spicy sweetness. I don't know what the exact notes are for this as compared to the original, but yeah, this one I think, like I said, it's good for warm autumn, but totally could be worn year-round, I would say. Really nice. Like I said, a little bit softer, more well-rounded, less sharp than the original. A little bit more creamy, a little bit more of a leather, more depth. But overall, a very pleasant, citric, creamy, pretty long lasting. I sprayed this one inside the box and it lasted like a couple days, the smell coming off of the box. Yeah, this one I think is rather pleasant. If you enjoy the original Cedrat Boise, maybe worth checking out, but so far I think you can probably just get away with paying $40 or so less for the original. At least for now. I think once this one starts to kind of drop down in price, once it's been on the market for a little while and stops being a new release, it'll be, you know, I think $70 if this comes down that low. Really good price for that. Okay, so the next fragrance here, I didn't much care for, and this is Chanel's number 19 Eau de Parfum. So this one, I heard it talked about a few times on Mr. Smelly's live streams, as well as Joe Lima from Scented Moments. I think this is I shouldn't. I retract saying that I don't care for it. It's just something that is. It's out of its time. Like I feel like this is a classic fragrance, and is just built for a society that is much more modest than today. Like, this is just it's very posh, very like refined, classical era, like Victorian vibes is what this gives me. Like, I think this is beautiful, like a beautiful piece of art and perfumery. Very green, kind of powdery iris, earthy, floral. Just stunning juice, but like there's just no proper time to wear this, I feel. Maybe to a wedding, and even then I think it is a woman's fragrance, and I think it does incline more towards being worn by a woman, older woman. Yeah, I'm glad that I got my nose on this because it was a pleasant olfactory experience, but I wouldn't recommend this. Because it's just it's too out of place in today's. It's just like such a bitter fragrance, like lacking any type of sweetness, but incredibly beautiful, incredibly natural. It's got that Chanel kind of distinct textural feel. Beautiful stuff, but would not recommend just because I can't see anywhere that would be. I can't imagine anywhere personally where I would be wearing that fragrance. So, next one here. This is Fougere Emeraude by, I believe the house translates to the Timeless Ones. You can read it in French up at the top of the box there. So this one, I did get a full wearing out of, and I think it was the only one in this entire haul that I got a compliment on, and rightfully so. I was a little bit, I don't know how to describe. I didn't know how I felt about this fragrance at first, because it opens up incredibly feminine. Like, probably one of the most blast in your face floral fragrances that I own. It's got, the main players are tuberose and then kind of like a lavender barbershop. And so it's saved from being too feminine by drying down into a very masculine Fougere barbershop, lavender, green, herbal, classic men's fragrance. But the opening is just this really, it just feels like you're falling onto a bed of flower petals. Just photorealistic, dewy, wet, silky flower petals. And then there's also this incredible brightness and this freshness. It's almost like a minty quality. Beautiful stuff. This was also recommended to me from Jolima at Scented Moments channel. Definitely check him out. He's got some incredible recommendations. Very niche and expensive, but I would say maybe not, definitely not blind buy worthy, but I think it is worth the price. The ingredients are incredibly high quality, and the craftsmanship is very unique. Yeah, just a floral Fougere barbershop fragrance. Definitely, I think, if not my favorites out of this haul, though. Great stuff. That's Fougere Emeraude from the Timeless Ones. Next, we have Cartier Declaration d'un Soir. So this fragrance is something that I didn't plan on buying. This was definitely an impulse buy. So it's been discontinued for a little while, and the stock on this is drying way up, and Joy Amin is actually the reviewer that influenced me to want to get this. He said it's definitely going to be a collector's item once it starts to disappear off the market, and it's already fetching close to $200 on eBay. But I saw this listed on eBay as a buy it now for a tester for $64. And I do own the regular Declaration Dun Soir, and I'm a big fan of that fragrance. And this one, so it takes the original Declaration Dun Soir DNA and then just makes the rose a little bit more jammy, and then intensifies the rest of the notes. So it is very much so, it does what it says it does. It's an intense flanker to the Declaration Dun Soir. And then there's like just this little bit of added sweetness by tuning the rose to be a bit more jammy and toning down some of like the fresh, bright, dewy qualities of the rose that's in the regular Declaration Dun Soir, but still beautiful floral, semi-spicy, kind of a little bit dark, but in like a, I think they did a good job with the presentation here. It's dark in this translucent kind of way, this gradient that goes into clear, I think articulates the way this smells very much so, especially with this little red text from the Intense to kind of capture the what the rose is doing in here as well. Beautiful, beautiful. Really glad I got this one. Don't know if it's hard for me to say just because I haven't gotten enough experience with this one, but it is something that I would maybe consider paying, close to $200 for in the future if I decide to get a backup bottle, because this is very much niche quality in my opinion. I have 3 fragrances left. So this one I haven't really gotten a full wearing. I tested it on skin on my wrist when I first got it in, but not that acquainted with it so far. This is Polo Intense. Newer release. I got this tester bottle off of Perfume Empire for $44 for a 4 ounce, 120 ml. I found this one to be a little bit basic though. I could see it being a nice dumb reach for the spring season, probably early spring in March when it's still a little bit more brisk. But you could pull this one off all the way through summer and fall, I think. It definitely has this very fresh, herbaceous, kind of minty, rosemary, basil. I don't know if those notes are in here, but it kind of captures that sort of cold, fresh herbs vibe going on with like a very basic men's cologne structure. Simple, effective. I think it's probably crowd pleasing, if leaning a little bit mature, like an older man. Not as green and herbal and earthy as I would have expected. It's very much more like fresh and bright and more leaning cologne style. Yeah, this one I feel like I just wasn't that impressed with. It doesn't wow me in any way. And there's just something slightly sour about it as well, just a very subtle slight sourness that I just feel like isn't that might put me off of wearing it more. I have to get some more wearings out of this one, but so far this one probably was the most unimpressive, even more so than Hacivat. It's kind of the most basic smelling to me. Next we have John Varvatos XX Artistan. So this one, I know Dallas at Chaos Fragrances is one of the people that has hyped this one up. It shows up in his lists pretty often. Haven't really seen anybody else talk about it, and probably for good reason. This one, to me, It's kind of like a Frankenstein's monster of Terre d'Hermes, Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver, and Encre Noir Sport. Has a little bit of elements of all of those, but it is simultaneously like just less impressive than all of those. So the quality is nowhere near the Tom Ford, which is surprising because usually John Varvatos fragrances have pretty high quality ingredients, but in here it smells very I don't want to say synthetic, but it's very like dull. The ingredients are just very dull, like low quality. Maybe not synthetic, but very low quality naturals. There's a slight suntan lotion in here vibe that is kind of off-putting as well. Like it just doesn't feel like it belongs with this composition. Like the suntan quality is giving it this almost creamy texture that feels like it would rather be a bright and sparkly vibe. There's a little bit of that orange, that dirty orange quality that you get in Terre d'Hermes, but it's not as pronounced. It's almost neroli or orange blossom like, even though I think it's coming from the citrus, but the citrus, like I said, like the quality ingredients in here are so dull that it's coming off as like something light, like an orange blossom or neroli, despite being like the actual fruit, citric fruit. So yeah, just kind of has this soapy vetiver vibe that Encre Noir Sport and Tom Ford have, but it doesn't have a sparkly freshness that those have. And then there's this light dirtiness from the Terre d'Hermes, the dirty orange, and then a slight suntan lotion vibe. Maybe not as unimpressed for lack of depth and just being linear as with the Hacivat and the Polo, but this one I think is just the worst overall out of this haul. Lowest quality, doesn't seem like it would last long or project, and it's kind of unoriginal from just stapling together some pieces of well-established vetiver fragrances. So that was my probably least favorite overall. And then finally, the one I'm most excited to share my thoughts on is this one right here, Gucci Nobile. This was is a 60 ml spray bottle. Fetching a high price, I managed to get this one for $240 off of a seller on Mercari. The 4.2 ounce or the 125 ml bottles of these are going for upwards of $800. Good prices, $400 on those. So very rare vintage fragrance. Shout out to Ramsey for recommending this one in his #1 spot on Aromatic Fougere list that he did. Also, when I was deciding whether or not to pull the trigger on this one, I saw that Kaylin at Sense of South Jersey also said this is probably the best Aromatic Fougere, and I probably will have to agree with them. I haven't gotten enough full wearings with this to come to that consensus yet, but this has some of like the best parts of YSL Rive Gauche and Dunhill Edition coming together with much more of like a beast mode presence, and it is very much very dense, very natural, very woodsy, like a balsam fir lavender combo, like, and that's why I said, you know, the balsam fir kind of reminds me of elements of Dunhill Edition, and then the rest of the composition has a lot of similarities to Rive Gauche for me. A really beautiful shaving foam, but outdoorsy and green, woodsy, elegant, definitely a little bit more leaning old school and mature. So you have to kind of like those style fragrances, just because this, you know, barbershop and aromatic fougere are some of my favorite genre of fragrances. So really grateful to have that one in the collection. So that was my kind of initial thoughts and impressions on this spring haul here. Let me know if you've tried any of these out in the comment section down below, and what your thoughts on them are, if they've differed from mine in any way. And let me know any other spring fragrances you think that I should check out in the future, and maybe follow up on a future haul. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.